Fox 5 is launching a new series today. It is called The Invisible Minority.
That's right. It's an ongoing profile on the injustices facing Asian Americans, specifically those living here in New York.
And our Arthur Chien is here with this special report, months in the making. Right, Arthur?
Indeed, Diary Stephen. What unfortunate relevance in the timing here. The city is in the middle of grappling with a massive spike in anti-Asian hate crimes, up more than 900%. The NYPD recorded 3 cases in 2019. Last year, 29 cases. But there is another issue Asians in New York have been struggling with for generations, mainly being an invisible minority. We at Fox 5 decided to take a look, an in-depth look, at a massive part of our city that feels the inequities it faces has been ignored for far too long. This is a story about race, and a basic question of who it is we think of when we consider New Yorkers who are struggling. Where are they from? Which neighborhoods do they tend to live in? There is one group of New Yorkers who have historically considered themselves to be invisible or looked over, and it is the more than 1.4 million Asian Americans who live in our city. Many even say the mayor himself has often left Asians out, often referring to minorities as, quote, black and brown, and no one else. John Liu was the first Asian American city council member and the first Asian American elected to citywide office when he became the city comptroller. He's now a New York State senator representing Queens.
When he constantly excludes mentioning Asian Americans, it makes Asian Americans feel like they have a city hall that doesn't even know they exist.
Perhaps nowhere is the omission of a minority more consequential than when it's at the hands of government. A Tale of Two Cities is the narrative then mayoral candidate Bill de Blasio introduced into dialogue, that one city is affluent and mostly white, the other city struggling and in need of help, mostly black and Latino. Powerful imagery that critics say omits one key group that constitutes nearly 14% of New Yorkers, so we asked the mayor himself this question.
The question is, in which of the 2 cities do Asians belong to?
Well, Arthur, it's such a important and honest question, and I appreciate it.
We'll come back to the mayor's full response in a minute, but first we look at what drove us to this moment. Leaders in the Asian American community say it is the disproven model minority myth that Asians do just fine left alone and end up as accountants or doctors or engineers. A false stereotype that ends up penalizing Asian New Yorkers. Nowhere was it more apparent than in 2018, when the mayor, who would run for president, tried to eliminate the entrance exams for New York City's specialized high schools. That includes Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, and Brooklyn Tech. Facing a lack of diversity across the city's 1,800 schools, the mayor targeted 3 schools, which happen to have a large percentage of Asians. Schools with high percentages of white students were left alone. The mayor's reasoning, framing Asian Americans as rich New Yorkers leveraging their wealth for unfair advantages, infuriated community leaders.
In fact, his exact words were, it was a scheme to make the rich richer. And that just incensed the Asian American community, because Asian Americans are not rich. That is a stereotype that doesn't help anybody.
In fact, Liu points out the vast majority of Asian American families striving to enter specialized high schools work low wages and often live at or below the poverty line. On this day, we watched a line form outside a food pantry. The line formed long before the pantry opened and ran down the street. In line, the old and young, all Asian, and not New Yorkers living a model minority dream. In this reality, critics say the mayor's suggestion that Asians are, as a group, privileged in a way that justifies reducing their representation in specialized high schools was widely noticed and widely condemned.
You could only imagine how insulting and how painful it is when a group sacrifices everything for something that is the cornerstone of our prosperity, and that's education.
I can name Kung Flu.
On top of the false model minority myth is the racism Asian Americans face, which has exploded since the pandemic began by more than 900%. From brazen daylight attacks on the street to attacks in the subway that have become seemingly routine. This man was slashed in the face from ear to ear. This woman had acid poured on her head. All of the violence unprovoked.
Here in New York City, historically, Asian Americans has been targeted as crime victims at a disproportionate rate.
By August 2020, the spike in hate crimes targeting Asians prompted the NYPD to create its anti-Asian hate crime task force. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who's running for mayor, says the tale of two cities has excluded Asian American New Yorkers.
When I go into Chinatown, when I go into Sunset Park, when I go into the various communities, I'm seeing the same pain and struggles that I see in Brownsville, in South Jamaica, Queens, in the South Bronx. And it is really unfair to believe that when you think of an Asian person, that you're thinking about someone that is extremely affluent and not struggling.
There are more current examples of a struggle ignored. Established during the pandemic was City Hall's Racial Inclusion Task Force. The program, Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises, or MWBE, was to direct city spending on the pandemic locally to minority and women-owned businesses. Many say Asians were left out. While Asians make up 25% of the city's minorities, it received 3% of MWBE spending. Another mayoral candidate is Scott Stringer. He's the city's chief financial officer. He too says Asians have been excluded.
I'm not satisfied. We spent more than $1.5 billion between March and August of 2020, $1.5 billion on COVID-related expenses. Only $43 million went directly to Asian Americans, and that is simply not enough. It's not adequate. You know, it's 3%. That's a drop in the bucket.
Then again, in November, the city's Small Business Administration rolled out a pandemic loan program designed to help small businesses survive. Yet it excluded most of Chinatown, which was the first neighborhood to be economically hit. Long before we started hearing the word lockdown, foot traffic, tourists, and customers here vanished.
We're outraged. We're left out. We feel that we're used as human props for other politicians to come here, stand on Mott Street, take pictures of us, take pictures of our businesses and our streets, and pat themselves on the back. And then when you roll out a program that will clearly benefit hundreds of businesses, you're absent.
The city says Chinatown was excluded because its zip code includes affluent neighborhoods like Soho and Tribeca. As for the MWBE program, a spokesperson at City Hall tells Fox 5, quote, the task force is comprised of city agency leaders, which includes Asian American leaders within the administration, and that it is meeting with leaders in the Asian American community to address their concerns. And the mayor said this to us about his attempt to kill the entrance exams to specialized high schools.
I've said before, I want to say it again. I apologize to members of the New York City Asian American community who felt that the specialized high school vision was meant to exclude them. It was not.
The issue was still on the mayor's mind when, the next day, he appeared on radio on Hot 97's Ebro in the Morning.
There's a question yesterday morning, totally different topic about specialized high schools. And the question from a journalist, very heartfelt, was that said a lot of Asian parents felt offended when I tried to change specialized high school admissions. And I said, I have come to realize that I sent the wrong message to those parents, and I apologize for that, because a lot of immigrants, hardworking people struggling to get their kid education, and they thought I was trying to take something away from them, which is not what I wanted to do.
Still, some do not see a misinterpretation, but instead see a fundamental lack of understanding for a community they say just has not been on the mayor's radar his entire time in office.
I don't think the mayor bears any malice towards the Asian American community. I think it's mostly out of ignorance or lack of attention. But for that to persist for so long, it starts to feel malicious to Asian Americans. Asian Americans definitely want the same opportunities afforded to everybody else.
Leaders in the Asian American communities we spoke with for this report, on and off camera, make clear that the inequities Asians are subjected to are in no way the same as what Black or Latino Americans experience. One of them even listed cases from George Floyd to Breonna Taylor to Eric Gardner to illustrate a point that there's a pattern here, one that does not involve Asians. What they do say, however, is that Asians face their own form of discrimination, injustice, and hardships, and want a city that doesn't have to be reminded that they exist, a city where they're not a forgotten afterthought, but on the minds of its mayor and its city hall. And to be clear, when we speak of Asians in our city, it includes those who are from the Far East, Southeast Asia, and the Indian subcontinent, as well as Pacific Islanders, showing with that mix, it is a large group sharing the experience that we've just detailed. Steve, Terry?
Glad you did that. Very impressive, Arthur.
Thank you for that
Can't be said
clarification
enough.
as well.